Hello everybody, I'm Rowan6 with Rowan6 Entertainment, and welcome to a new series, a audiobook series of my fanfiction, Transformers, Heroes in Disguise. The background art for this fanfiction is created by me. If you're interested in me doing art commissions for you, the link to my business Discord is down below. There's also a link to my community Discord, as well as the fanfiction link. There is also a link to my DeviantArt account. Thank you, and enjoy the video.
Transformers, Heroes in Disguise. Summary. After the number 1 hero crushed his dreams, as well as another brutal beating from Katsuki, Izuku decides to end it all. Not wanting to inconvenience anybody with his body, he goes to an area that has a deep and large ravine. But instead of hitting the bottom of the ravine, he was saved by the Allspark and was turned into a Cybertronian. Now with his newfound family and friends, can he become a hero and defend Earth from the Decepticon threat, or will he fail in doing so? Chapter 1, Life Works in Mysterious Ways. Izuku's world was shattered. Why? Because he was just told by the number 1 hero, All Might, that he could not be a hero. Now, he was too consumed by the fact that he had nothing to live for anymore. His mother died last week, his ex-friend literally told him to off himself, and now All Might crushed the only thing that he was grasping on to keep him afloat in the ocean of despair. Even when he was able to pull Katsuki from the sludge villain, he was still berated by the heroes around him, which just left that crushing feeling that he had felt ever since All Might told him he couldn't be a hero, causing his heart to crumble even further. It was then, when he was walking home, that Katsuki had cornered him in an alley and beat him half to death for saving him. Bloodied and bruised, Izuku felt emotionally and physically crushed. But what finally broke him was the words that Katsuki had said to him as he left his broken form lying in the alleyway behind him. "I honestly wished that you would have taken my advice and taken that swan dive that I had suggested. Maybe you still can," Katsuki said, with a mocking and vicious sneer on his face. These were the words that had finally broken him. He honestly thought that Katsuki would have regretted the words he told him the first time. But this proved that he did not care, and after a couple of minutes of lying in the alley, he got up and started walking. He needed to find a place where he could end his pain and suffering without inconveniencing anyone. He honestly did not know why he should continue living at this point. Maybe if he followed his ex-friend's advice it could work. Perhaps he could be a hero in the next life. Yeah, that sounds nice, Izuku thought to himself, and with an odd determination started to think. But he did not want to inconvenience anyone, and luckily for him, he knew a good place. It was on the south side of Musudafu. After a natural disaster 5 years ago, the whole area was practically leveled. The entire section now was nothing but a giant canyon with ruined buildings. No one was stupid enough to go near the place due to the danger it represented. But Izuku really didn't care about the danger, since he was going to off himself anyway. So walking out of the alleyway, he made his way to the south side of Musudafu. As he thought, there was nobody around, and with good reason too. The ground was extremely unstable, and every piece of ground shifted underneath him as he navigated to the canyon edge. Izuku did not know how, but he made it to the edge of the giant canyon. Although Izuku noted that it was more of a battlefield than a natural disaster zone. Then the words from All Might came to his head. He told him that he received that wound 5 years ago, and this natural disaster happened 5 years ago. Was this the battlefield that he had fought the unknown villain in? That would make sense. Although, he had to admit that the damage was quite impressive. Looking down over the edge, Izuku could only see darkness. Kicking a rock down, he waited to hear the sound of it hitting the bottom. When none came, Izuku realized that it had to be extremely deep, which was a good sign. He wanted to make sure he died all in one go. Looking around just in case he did not have any witnesses to traumatize, and when he found none, he closed his eyes and jumped. The weightlessness and the feeling of falling were oddly relaxing and freeing in a strange way. It was like all his troubles were gone, and he was oddly now at peace with himself for the first time in a long time. His life flashed through his mind as he fell deeper into the pit. A couple minutes passed of this, and Izuku oddly wondered how deep the canyon went. But before he could think about it further, he started to slow down. Opening his eyes in a panic, he looked around. He was expecting a hero to be somehow responsible. But he was not expecting a strange blue energy to engulf his body, and it appeared to be slowing him down. It came through a crack that was in a large metal structure that was located at the bottom of the canyon. The large structure of metal stretched on for a good mile or two, with strange tubes and weird mechanical mechanisms scattered around its metal shell. Izuku had no idea what the metal structure was. But the beam coming from it was slowing him down as it pulled him in through the crack. When he finally landed, he was in front of a glowing cube in a large chamber. It seemed that the cube was the thing that brought him here and saved his life. The cube was producing light that made Izuku feel more calm as well as some type of comfort. It was strange, it was like somebody had covered him in a nice warm blanket. Izuku did not know what came over him next. It could have been curiosity, it could have been pure stupidity, or it just could have been him not able to give any more fucks about his safety. Because, like he had no common sense to speak of, he approached the strange glowing cube and grabbed it. Once he did, a bright light had engulfed him and a large pulse of energy passed through him, as well as through the structure, which caused the chamber to light up. Izuku did not know this though, since he was experiencing an extreme amount of pain. His whole body simultaneously felt like it was melting and at the same time being torn apart and stitched back together. Through this pain, though, he heard a voice. It was deep, gravelly, and projected a sense of wisdom and warmth like an old grandfather would. Izuku Midoriya, I find you worthy of holding my spark. As you fell, I could see your life, as it flashed through your own mind. Throughout it, you suffered great hardship, and all because you wanted to protect others as well as the sanctity of life. Because of this, I will grant you a spark of my power and hopefully a family to take you in. Use this power to protect and create a future for yourself and my children. Izuku Midoriya, I have no doubt in my mind, in my very spark, that you will do great things. The voice said in a proud grandfatherly tone. The second that the voice stopped speaking, everything had went black for him. The Arc Cryo Chamber. A pulse of energy went through the ship, turning on every system including the room where 6 large cryo tubes were situated. Cryostasis awakening process initiated. A robotic voice said through the loudspeakers in the room. Within minutes all 6 cryo tubes had opened and several large figures stumbled out. Ratchet status. A gruff but commanding voice said. The voice came from a large robotic humanoid whose appearance was more akin to a mech, which was usually depicted in old pre-Quirk comics. The colossal being was around 30 feet in height. Judging by its voice and appearance, it was obviously male. The colossal being has a gray face with a blue helmet and 3 antennas on each side. 2 were blue, the others gray, and were heavily detailed in design with multiple plates and layers of pieces on top of each other. He has two sphere-shaped bases for his antennas, with dark blue coloring around them. He has a red chest with windows from his vehicle mode and a dark gray strip on both of his ribs. He has big shoulders that overlap his arms, 2 wheels are at the back held by his smokestacks, and 4 wheels are at the back of his legs. This was Optimus Prime, the leader of the Autobots. I'm already on it, just give me a minute. The now named Ratchet said grumpily as he made his way to the computer in the room. Ratchet was also akin to the mechs of old. His height was around 24 feet 7 inches foot. He is a large white robotic humanoid with an orange paint job, and blue eyes, and he is quite bulky for his size. Ratchet was the medic/mechanic of the group. Before that, you think you can take a look at me, I feel kind of dash. A feminine voice said before going silent as a loud thump hit the metal ground. Ratchet was over by her in seconds and quickly ran scans over his now unconscious comrade. This is Arachnid. She was a lot smaller than Ratchet, only reaching the height of 18 feet. She had a nice slim feminine build. Her appearance is like a spider, with long spider-like limbs on her back. Arachnid wears a built-in skirt that exposes her midriff. Arachnid also appears to have violet and blue eyes with a compound look, and her primary color is white, almost silver. Her secondary colors are dark purple, dark gray, gold, and bright violet highlights. She has a heavily worn down and scratched out Decepticon symbol on the center of her chest, with an Autobot symbol that looks like it was carved into her metal frame on the right side of her chest. She'll be alright, Optimus, she's just suffering from cryo sickness. I swear one of these days I'm going to convince her to let me fill in the deformity that she gave herself. I understand it's symbolic for her, but as her doctor, I cannot approve of self-mutilation. Ratchet said, grumbling as he moved her over to the side. It's not just a symbol for her, it's her promise and dedication to our cause. But I understand, Doc, it's still gruesome to look at. A voice said in binary which consisted of various beeping noises. This was Bumblebee. He is an Autobot warrior and the scout of Team Prime. Bumblebee was a very important member of Optimus's team during the Great War and was with Optimus for the longest out of any Autobot, excluding Ratchet and Arachnid. He stood at the height of 21 feet 4 inches foot. He was a yellow robotic humanoid with black stripes. He had a way sleeker design than Optimus and Ratchet. He was also a lot less bulky, which hinted that he was built more for maneuverability than anything else. And unlike his comrades, he also did not have a mouth, but his eyes were a lot more bigger and expressive. But she has already proved herself to us, multiple times in fact. Perhaps it's about time that we try to convince her to fix it up. This time another voice spoke up a lot more deeply. This was Bulkhead, and he stood around 24 feet 7 inches foot. He was mostly a faded green color while parts of him were black. His eyes were blue and his head was silver except for a faded green part on the top of his head that looked like a helmet. Ah guys, I know that Arachnid's problem is important and all. But shouldn't we figure out why we've been woken up? A feminine voice spoke up, grabbing everybody's attention. This was Arky. She was the newest member of Team Prime and the last daughter to be born on Cybertron, which was around 14 years if Optimus remembers correctly. That's not counting the time they spent in stasis. Arky is a small humanoid robot that is around 11 feet in height. She has blue paint as her primary color, black paint as the secondary, and little areas covered in pink, such as her head crest. She has black feet, hands, and a gray midriff. Arky is right. Bumblebee scout the area with Bulkhead. Ratchet, go find out what woke us up and if possible where we are. Archie, you're with me, we're going to check on the Allspark. Optimus said, and with a nod from everybody they went to do as ordered. Approaching the vault door, Optimus could easily tell that something was wrong. He had a feeling that the Allspark was the reason why they were awake, but this proved it. It was obvious that the Allspark had released so much energy that it fused the door shut. The vault was designed to ensure the safety of the Allspark during their exodus from Cybertron. So it would take even him days, perhaps weeks, to cut through the door. Looking around, he notices a small crack in the door. Getting an idea, he looks down at his companion. Archie, use the crack to get on the other side of the door. There should be a manual release for the door's bulkheads. Once released, I should be able to remove the door from its frame. Report anything you find while over there as well, no matter how small it may be. Optimus said. With an eager nod, Archie did as told. Archie was quite eager. This was like her first mission or something. Optimus and Arachnid were quite adamant about her being more mentally mature before taking her on any missions. Autobot protocol stated that she would only be able to officially become an Autobot when she became an adult, where she would have the choice to enlist or not. She had to wait until her 15th birthday before she would be considered an adult. But there was no doubt in her mind about enlisting, and she was quite eager to prove herself. It was why she attempted to take this as seriously as possible in hopes of proving that she could be on more missions. It was why when she was on the other side of the door, after crawling through the tight crack which she barely fit through, she immediately spoke over the comms. Optimus, there might be some type of live wire in here. I can tell that the floor is being pumped with a lot of energy, not enough to harm me though. It's almost like the times when we were in those very few habitable areas on Cybertron. You know that pleasant tingling feeling that was caused by the energon energy running through the ground? It's just like that. Archie said over the comms. That sounded just like the Allspark to Optimus, but the fact that it was active was quite worrying though. Don't worry about it, we'll investigate once I'm inside, so focus on your task and activate the manual release. Optimus said, and with a quick acknowledgement from her, she went over to the manual release for the bulkhead. It was quite big for her size, but easy for her to pull it down. Hearing the snap hiss of the bolts that held the door in place being ejected out of their sockets by micro-explosives was music to Optimus's ears. But before Optimus could remove the door, Archie's scream could be heard over his comms. Acting quickly, he barged through the door and scanned over the room. Archie was lying right by the release for the bulkhead with blue and green sparks coming off her. If Optimus wasn't looking directly at her, he would have missed the quick shift in her external plating. It was like her body became liquid as it pulsed for only a nanosecond. Picking her up, he gently placed her in her arms as he scanned over her. But the scans that he was getting made no sense to him, which meant that she needed to see Ratchet. But at least he could tell that she was stable for the moment and she was just unconscious. But before he could bring her to Ratchet, he needed to make sure that the Allspark was secure. Which unfortunately had to be his top priority. So moving deeper into the vault, he quickly made his way to the Allspark's chamber. He could tell that he was getting closer due to the energy that the Allspark was emitting. Like Archie had said, it was like being in one of the habitable areas on Cybertron. But what she didn't know was those habitable areas were only habitable due to the Allspark's presence. If it wasn't for the Decepticons' constant attempts to retrieve it for their own twisted gains, the Allspark would had enough time to rejuvenate the planet. But due to the constant need to move in an attempt to protect the Allspark, It could not stay in one place long enough to begin the healing process of Cybertron. It was why eventually they needed to leave Cybertron. The entire planet was no longer capable of being repaired and the energon deposits were completely depleted. But as Optimus got closer and closer to the Allspark, he could feel that it somehow changed. No other being could have noticed it, but due to Optimus having the matrix of leadership, he could feel it. The matrix of leadership and the Allspark were connected on a fundamental level. Both artifacts were pieces of Primus and both were powerful. The Allspark was the most powerful out of the two as it was capable of bringing life to Cybertron and it also held all the knowledge of Primus himself. The matrix of leadership purpose was to give the one that was chosen to be the leader the capability and the power to do so. It also gave him access to knowledge and places in Cybertron that no other Cybertronian could enter. It was how he retrieved the Allspark in the first place. As Optimus entered the vault, he was quite shocked at what he saw, and that was the fact that the Allspark was converting a boy with green hair into a Cybertronian.
Make sure you guys like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!